Ms. Anderson, can you connect us with live stream and let us know when we're ready to go? Thank you very much. Good afternoon and welcome to our regular council meeting of Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. We have an agenda in front of us. Mr. Coleman, are there any additions or deletions?
No changes from administration, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Looking for someone to move as presented. Councillor Wanchuk, thank you very much. Comments, questions? All in favor? Thank you. That's unanimous. We have our minutes of February 14th, 2023. Looking for someone to move those as being, thank you, accurate, correct. Yes. Councillor Balazer has moved them. Comments, questions, errors, omissions? Seeing nothing, all in favor? That is unanimous. We're going to start this afternoon with our swearing in of our deputy mayor. The deputy mayor role in Leduc County is rotational. It is, thank you very much to the work from Councillor Lewis for her last 9 months as our deputy mayor. She certainly was able to step in and take over a number of positions I couldn't or was unable to, so we appreciate that. And I'm just going to ask for Councillor Verdi just to come on over here so that it's a picture in front of our
Who's to swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability, execute according to law the office of deputy mayor from 1st, 2023 to October 31st, 2023. Still helping God, sworn before me at Miss in the province of Alberta, the 20th day of February 2020.
Congratulations. We'll get you to sign that for us. And thank you for that. Moving on to 4A, which is an opportunity in every meeting for anybody in the public who would like to address council on an item that is not on the agenda can do so now. Thank you very much. Have a chair.
Oh, well, I think I'll stand up.
And if it's more comfortable, then go ahead and stand.
Thank you so much.
Just state your name and your
Yes,
address and then be.
Okay, I think we're good. I'm Jennifer Goodridge, and I live at 50015 Highway 814, and I've been there. I'm guessing pretty near 50 years. I haven't gone to figure it out lately, but that's how long I've been there. So I'm in my 70s now, and I've been struggling with the county regarding this same problem for 40 years. And I'm going to die happier than I am now, dealing with this problem. And I'm starting here under the recommendation of Kelly Lynn. She's been extremely helpful as far as it goes, but it's not going far enough because I'm being totally and completely stonewalled by the planning and development department. As evidenced by the first picture that's in the color, the Google Maps is the map that the planning development guy, Dave, I think his name is, gave me. This picture is, it's got to be 8 years out of date. So the area that I drew in black around that nice green area is now covered in auto body. I'll just call it junk. I don't know. There's everything there. There's school buses. There's cargo vans. There's vehicles with wheels and without wheels. There's some burned vehicles. There's some regular looking vehicles. There's everything from soup to nuts. And he's getting to the point now on the east side, you know, which would be the right side of the page, where he's running out of room. He's, I don't know what the hell he digs holes and buries stuff. I don't know what it is. He does stuff at all hours of every day. He works 7 days and 7 nights. And he's out there at 2 o'clock in the morning as well with the bright lights frightening you. And I don't know what, the first hole he dug, I thought, well, maybe he's burying the wife. Well, that apparently is not what happened because other holes happened after that. And I am now at a place where I have time, and I'm mad enough that now I'm just going to pursue this. I've had enough. I have come to the conclusion that not only is my physical health in jeopardy from having this as a next door neighbor all these years, but also my physical health, what with the theft of catalytic converters. This was the last straw for me last year, because the police came to visit next door regarding his complaint that people were coming stealing his catalytic converters. So these people that are high on drugs or whatever they're doing, oh yeah, this is like buffet next door to me for these thieves, you know, that are high on something. So apparently they get dropped off on 500, which is, oh, I should have started at the beginning. Oh, so once upon a time in a land far, far away, I was married and I had a couple of kids, and my husband said, let's buy this piece of property. Okay, let's buy a farm. Let's do something. He was a farm boy. I was a city girl. I thought, oh, Christ, I get a horse. Yes, I'll do this. Okay, so after all these, we bought here first. This was a quarter section divided into 4. So we bought here first. Then what happened next door was the greenhouse and the auto body they bought there. So they divided in half. So that's what I have on the south side of me, is the auto body and the greenhouse. They've been horrible, god awful, horrible, trying to think of another word that's polite, neighbors for 40 years. Absolutely impossible to deal with. Not that they're nice, not nice people. It's just that with this, they won't deal with this. So anyway, so the second picture is me in my yard yesterday with my dogs. And so I'm just standing about 30 feet from my house, and I got some trees there, and there's some hay bales there which make a windbreak. And I'm looking east down toward the southeast, we're down toward that lovely swamp area. That's why we bought there, because it's number 1, number 2 soil, first thing. And also there's a swampy area, natural area in the back for birds and moose and whatever the hell, everything that lives down there. So this picture is of my dogs, and the area that I've circled there, you can see there's the auto bodies that I said are not on the map with the green colored map. So that's just yesterday. That's as up to date as you're going to get. Number 3 picture is driving on 500. I was down to my neighbors who are just out of the picture to the east.
About a minute left.
I'm talking as fast as I
I'm
can.
listening fast as well, but
Yeah,
still running out of
right, you are. I might come back another day, don't you worry. So this is a picture of, like, my house gives you an idea. That's this what's left of the swamping area that people in the neighborhood. So, and picture number 4, same idea. So instead of making a fence between the greenhouse and the auto body, that picture shows right in the center there between the evergreens and the other trees. They don't put fence, they just stack up the auto bodies and whatever it is. Picture number 5 is me standing in my hayland and the fence there. When we first moved there, we put the fences in. I have never had any help from either of my neighbors, north or south, and that's another story for another day. But anyway, you can see that this stuff goes, picture number 7, I guess, is probably the clearest. This is my shelter belt on the right-hand side of the picture. All the auto bodies and everything are all jammed up to the property line, and they're just everywhere. There's no rhyme or reason to his business. It's everything there. He doesn't just deal in, I don't know, little sports cars or something. The last time I came to a county meeting, he had pictures of all his lovely vehicles, all painted up and bright and shiny and everything. And he said, oh, well, this is my business and this is what I want to do. And at that time, he wanted to be able to buy wholesale. And I said, no. And this is the reason I said no. So yeah, give an inch, take a mile, and this is 10 miles off. And I need somebody to intervene on my behalf, because your planning and development department, well, I've gone in person to see them. I went before Christmas and I said, I want a letter in writing that you're going to do something. I've never heard from them. They see me coming and they hide under the desk, literally hide under the desk. And I don't find it amusing anymore. I don't know if you have any questions or anything else.
Are there any clarifying questions for the presenter?
That's the Coles Notes version of 40 years of my life. I can't enjoy my yard. The paint booth smells that come from his paint booth. He works 7 days a week. This should be in Nisku industrial area. This is not a proper use of number 1 and number 2 soil.
Thank you. What we will do is we'll have our county manager to look into this.
And who's that?
Look for a solution and we'll get back to you.
Yes, I'm sorry. Who's your county manager?
Mr. Dwayne Coleman.
That's me right here.
Oh, Mr. Coleman.
Hello.
I'm sure. I will.
Thank you very much.
I will write that down. Thank you. So where do you want this? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
10 minutes.
All right. Thank you. We are going to move on to 4C and D, which are staff introductions and service awards. So I think we're starting with Mr. Podlewski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce Cynthia Preeb. She's our Administrative Assistant in Corporate Services. She's returning to the county after 14 years, previous stint with Planning and Development. So we are very happy to have her back to round out the Corporate Services team.
Well, congratulations and welcome back. And here is a happy pin for you. A photo. And hoping to have you for many, many years. Thank you. Yes, I think we have two from you. There she is.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. I am here come a little closer to introduce the first person in my department that's joining us is Yana Harbour. She's going to be working with us doing accounts payable. So since in Ukraine, she worked a lot in accounting, sales, procurement, and leadership. Since she's come to Canada, she's actually been working in more of the quality sector where she's leading people through third-party logistics. So we're very excited to have her and welcome her aboard.
Welcome to the county. Yeah. We wish you a long career. Thank you.
And my next introduction is Kathleen Kravis. She is joining us doing reception and admin assistant. She spent the majority of her career so far doing reception in a dental office. So she's very used to dealing with teeth and people who have lots of questions. So yeah. So we're very happy to have her as part of the team.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Salesh Modak. He joined our organization on February 14th, Valentine's Day, which is a great time. I love having him on board so far. Yes, don't quit my day job. He has a tremendous expertise in waste management as well as utilities. He's been involved with the Edmonton Centre of Excellence for Waste Management. We were able to acquire him from the city of Cold Lake, where he looked after water, wastewater systems, as well as dealing with some of the commissions up there. So tremendous level of expertise. We've been feeding with the fire hose, getting them up to speed. So extremely happy to have him to join the team.
Welcome. Have you on board, and we're always looking for somebody as we expand in our facilities departments. Mr. Green.
Madam Chair, some of you may know Lori Stetzel. Lori started with us in 2017, so she's celebrating 5 years with the county. She's an administrative assistant in our development services group, so you've probably seen her behind the customer service desk up on the second floor, helping our public and helping applicants navigate our process. She's been dealing with permit intake, application intake in the subdivision area, running process, doing application reviews for completeness, and generally just kind of supporting our staff and helping things move forward and helping us meet our targets and providing good service to our customers. So congratulations to Lori on meeting 5 years.
Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, members of council, folks in the gallery, it's my privilege again. I think I did one last week to recognize Renee for 10 years of service at Leduc County. When I first met Renee, she was the director of corporate services. She had been here a few years more than I had been here. She started here in a management role and quickly worked her way up to director. And one of the things I recognized when I first started is if I wanted to stay here as the county manager, I needed smart, intelligent people to make me look somewhat capable. And I recognized right away that she had already made an impact to this organization. She was implementing change here. She was making improvements that I think council has seen, and we've had the good fortune of benefiting from, not only council, but the citizens of this municipality. She is a confidant, a person who gives me guidance and wisdom, someone I lean on daily. She has made a tremendous impact to this organization. She also lives in the community in which she works, which I think many of our employees do, but it's a unique opportunity for them to give back to the communities that they come from. And our residents have benefited immensely. And so it is my pleasure to recognize 10 years of service and many, many more years. Congratulations.
Just a comment for those of us that were here 10 years ago. Certainly, I would echo everything that Mr. Coleman said about Renee. We noticed a difference right off the get-go when she was presenting budget and working with us. And she was willing to answer all our questions, and she'd bring back all the answers the next day. And it was like, wow, this is service, especially to council. So you're right. She brought in lots of changes. She's made council much happier going through a very large budget process. We appreciate all of that. Thank you. Okay. On to 5A, which is, thank you, Mr. Grace. Got it. 5A, Ms. Weiss, 2022 carry forward requests. Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Again, good afternoon. I am here this afternoon with our 2022 carry forward request. So each year, as we work through our year-end process, we bring forward a carry forward list. The list includes operating, major, and capital projects that were approved in the 2022 budget, but are still in progress as of December 31st of 2022. So the total carry forward for this year is just over 5.3 million. Of that, if we want to go down to the list, I just wanted to, number 5 through 8 totals 1.8 million. These are all projects that were delayed due to supply chain distribution disruptions. I'm sorry. And so those 4 are all because of that supply chain issue that we're having. And then number 11 and 12 are related to our Wildland Meadows local improvement. So those 6 projects altogether are making up a large chunk of that 5.3 million that we're asking to carry forward for the year. Then out of that entire list is 709,500, which is funded by tax dollars. So as soon as we're funded by tax dollars, we want to move those funds forward, put them in a reserve so that then we can use that reserve as a funding source in 2023. That allows us to ensure that we're not taxing again in 2023 for the same projects that have already been approved. So are there any questions on any of those?
Thank you very much. The floor is open for any questions on the items on the 2022 carry forward project list. I am seeing none. I will put my name to the recommendation and I will ask Ms. Weiss to read it in. She likes to read numbers.
I will do my best. That council approves the 2022 carry forward project list in the amount of $5,328,200 and a total transfer of $709,500 to reserves to fund the 2022 projects that will be completed in 2023. The full. So there's several projects. For the communications economic development videos is 20,000. Agenda management system is 20,000. Implementation of enterprise content management solution is 17,000. Motor grader replacements of 90,000. Motor grader replacement of 480,000. Growth Hamlets utility capacity assessment is 2,500. And the Central Nisku Local Area Redevelopment Plan, year 2 and 3 of 3, 10,000. And finally, the Royal Oaks Estates infrastructure deficiency of 70,000.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. I'm opening the floor for any debate on the motion. Councillor Lewis.
No debate, just a question if
Yes.
I could. Your CP 005, the motor replacement for $90,000 in your summary or your motion doesn't match the number 7. Is that just the remainder of what we had to increase because of the?
That's the funding source. So that particular project has 2 different funding sources.
Okay.
One was reserve, and then the other part of it is tax. So that second half is the 709,000 is tax dollar funded.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. I am seeing no further questions. I will call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving ahead to, I think it's Mr. Van Beers and some 3 policies from Agricultural Services. And whenever you're ready, we can start with AP 03.
Thank you, Madam Chair, or Madam Mayor, I guess. Different setting. Yes, we'd like to bring forward 3 policies for review for approval by the council. They are AP 03 rental equipment, AP 04 horticultural services, and SW 01, which is a small acreage drainage projects. All 3 of these have had very minor adjustments. 2 of them, the horticultural services and the small drainage, it's just a minor tweak to the review period. We'd like to switch the horticultural services from 3 years to 4 years just to keep it consistent with the other policies that we have in place. And for the small drainage projects, it's just the wording change because it was an older policy. In terms of the rental equipment, AP 03, the only real difference in there is we had identified the radio frequency identification tag readers, the RFID readers. We had 2 of those readers, but they are no longer functioning and they are fairly expensive to replace. And we've had very little uptake in the last 5 years. I think we've had maybe 2 people that have inquired into using them. So we felt that it would not, the best choice would be to not have them for rent and just to remove them from the list.
All right, I will turn over to Councillor Scobie, who's the chair of the Policy Review Committee. Do you have any? Your microphone's not on.
I guess I wasn't here to go over them, but it looks like, yeah, it's just to clean up. So it all looks good.
Any questions on any of those 3 policies that are up for renewal? Okay, we have a motion to move all 3. Looking for someone to move that motion. Oh, you have a question? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Councillor Birdie.
Just a quick question in regards to the rental equipment note here. I noticed that in a couple of other meetings that we've had previously, we often purchase our equipment based on a financial decision. Are we doing a financial analysis, rent versus buy? Because I noticed we rent some, we buy some. This policy, is it specifically reviewed from a financial standpoint, a rent versus buy kind of scenario?
Yeah, for this particular policy, this is for the equipment that we rent out to our residents. So we have for rent for our residents some traps for live capture traps. We have some spray equipment so that they can control weeds on their own property and things of that sort. So this policy is specifically for the things that we rent out to our residents and whether we charge a fee for that rental or not. And that's the reason why this was coming forward is for that purpose. Yeah.
Okay. additional supplemental, go ahead.
Yeah,
Councillor.
and then the small acreage drainage project, like, roughly if you can kind of clarify exactly what we're doing there?
Certainly. So in a lot of our residents' properties, there are areas that don't drain very well or that they're having water issues with. This, although they can't just go in and do that without approval from Alberta Environment for drainage. What this policy is meant for is to kind of help assist those residents who do get approval to do some minor drainage works on their property to help with the costs of that, because it can be fairly expensive. You typically have to get it either surveyed or looked at, and then you have to hire equipment to do that. So this policy is for a small annually budgeted for amount that people can apply, and provided that they've gone through everything that they need to, that application will come to our Ag Service Board for approval. And in the event that it is approved, they are eligible for up to $750 for support for that small acreage drainage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Looking for someone to make a motion to move the three policies. Councillor Belazer will do that. Any other questions? Debate? Appreciate the cleanup on those policies. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to 5C1, Mr. Meriglod.
Council. The first report that I like today would be the road. There we go.
There. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, council. The first report that I'd like to discuss with council today is the road plan closure and land swap sale for road plan 5135 EO Bablitz. So this is an issue that we dealt with a little bit earlier, where the Bablitz family approached Leduc County to close a road allowance that was historically used for a road diversion and return it back to the quarter. They did want it at no cost at that point in time, and council's decision at that point in time was that it would need to be sold at fair market value. Since then, administration has had an opportunity to work with the Bablitz family a little bit further, and we have another solution that we'd like to present to council. So essentially what it is a further discussion with the landowner. We're considering a land swap with the landowner for a portion of land which is adjacent to a bridge culvert BF 0073 that crosses Township Road 482 close to the home residence. This agreement would transfer 1.47 acres of closed road plan to the owner of the balance of the quarter, and 0.41 acres would be registered as road plan and added to the existing 0.45 acres of existing road plan. This would be under care and control of Leduc County for purposes of culvert maintenance. If you examine attachment 1, which is a map that shows the current configuration, you do have an area in red. Those are areas that would be closed. And in turn, the landowner would give us or swap essentially the areas in blue. So we would be able to have that entire rectangle as future road right away for the culvert repair, maintenance, working space, all those sort of things. And then the difference between the two, he would then pay us fair market value. So if you refer back, unfortunately, to the table in the report, the closed road plan area, which would be in red, is 1.47 acres. The area for the new road plan, which would be in blue, is 0.41 acres. So the balance that would be owed to Leduc County would be approximately $2,800. So what this would do is a win-win scenario where we'd have the necessary road right of way for the eventual bridge replacement repair to protect that bridge. And at the same time, the landowner would have the road allowance that road plan that was originally requested closed, and he'd be able to consolidate with that property at a value that would be much more palatable to him.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. I think it's a great idea to secure the piece that's by the culvert or the bridge that's there, because we know sooner or later we're going to be doing repairs on every bridge that we have, and that one the creek there can run pretty high and pretty fast. So that's a good plan. Any questions for Mr. Mariglot? I am seeing none. Looking for a motion to be put on the floor. Counselor
love that.
Scobie,
You want me to read that in?
you bet.
All right, move that the council authorize the road closure of road plan 5135 EO within the southwest quarter of 134827 west of the fourth. And upon approval by the Minister of Transportation, that a portion of the land be sold and consolidated with the balance of the quarter and approximately 0.86 acres of land, approximately 100 meters by 35 meters adjacent to the bridge file 00743 be retained by Leduc County for the purpose of bridge culvert replacement and or repair.
Okay, just as Counselor Scobie was reading that, a question did come to mind. One of the things that we struggled with earlier in the year was that people who had road right-of-ways and were leasing them next to adjacent to a water body were refused by Alberta Transportation to continue to have them. This one isn't necessarily adjacent to. Is it possible this would be refused by Alberta Transportation?
I believe it'd be highly unlikely that they would refuse it, as it's basically road plan is vested in the name of the province. Same thing with road allowance. So it's almost land that they would need since we have care and control of the roads. This is land required for that. So.
All right, motions on the floor. Any further questions? Comments or debate? Calling the question, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
It was a great plan. Thank you for working through and thinking outside of the box. We appreciate it.
I'll have to give credit to Karen Bernan. She's the one who came up with that. Unfortunately, she's away today, so I'll give credit where credit is due.
Well, thank you for that. And when we see Ms. Bernan, we will thank her for that as well. Okay, on to something I think that is a little bit more emergent. 5C2 funding request, Sunnybrook low pressure sewer flushing point installation.
So administration was notified on November 28th about a sewer issue in Sunnybrook. An individual recently replaced a pump and now the sewer was flowing back into their tank. In order to correct an issue, a larger pump needed to be installed in order to provide the necessary head to overcome the line loss and get it ultimately to the lagoon. It resolved the issue, but it's not necessarily a long-term sustainable solution. It does indicate that there could potentially be an issue. And furthermore, Leduc County has been since then been notified by at least 4 other individuals about similar sewer issues. So it seems to be a little bit more of a systematic problem that we're noticing in this area. Leduc County has never flushed the low pressure sewer in Sunnybrook, as the flush points are never installed as part of the original design. Over time, solids can collect in the sewer main sags, so it follows the contours of the land. So if you have a little bit of a dip, solids can collect in those mains, partially blocking the pipes. Any fats, oils, and greases discharged anytime in the past can collect in the system as well, partially blocking the pipes and increasing the required pressure for the sewer pipes or for the sewer mains sewer tanks would need to discharge. This would result in larger pumps. So what administration would like to do to try to resolve the situation is to flush the Sunnybrook low pressure sewer system to ensure there's no blockages in place before we move on to other potential issues. This will require the installation of 2 flush points into the system to allow the system to be flushed. Project needs to be completed as soon as possible to eliminate any issues that may be present in the system. So what we are requesting is that Leduc County Council allocate $39,000 from the Capital Wastewater Collection Lagoon Repair and Replacement Reserve to install 2 flush points within the Sunnybrook low pressure sewer system. This would allow us to have a hydrovac truck to flush out the system, and by opening and closing certain valves, we can direct the flushing through certain pipes to try to clear these out and basically make sure that that's a potential problem in the system. So.
Okay, questions, 3 questions or comments, Councillor Smith, Councillor Lewis, and then Councillor Balazer. Councillor Verdi. Go ahead.
I have no questions. However, I would be prepared to move the recommendation that Leduc County Council allocate the $39,000 from the capital wastewater collection lagoon repair and replacement reserve to install 2 flush pumps within the Sunnybrook low pressure sewer.
Any comments or just believe it needs to be done?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead. You have the motion. You might as well.
Question to admin. So you're going to just do an initial flush. If there's anything else in there, you'll have to go in with another technique to clean it after in case. Just and to follow up through the mayor, it's never been flushed.
Never been flushed. There's never been any kind of flush points. The only flushing that you would get is from the pumps activating occasionally as they empty the tanks into the system. But like I said, solids, fats, oils, and greases can collect into the sags of the system, which create constriction. So the plan is that this would address any of those constrictions in place and hopefully restore the proper operation of the system.
Thank you.
Councillor Lewis and then Councillor Belazer.
Thank you. This sewer system goes into the lagoon, is that correct?
Yes.
How many other, have there been any other problems with any of the other lagoons like Rolly View or?
Nothing's been identified with any of the other lagoons, but depending on success of this initiative, it's something that we may recommend through a capital project in future years to install flush points in other low pressure systems. Something like Rolly View, where it's largely gravity, you would not necessarily run into the same sort of issue. We do have manholes that you can go and flush out occasionally, but where you have a sealed system like a low pressure system, it becomes a little bit more problematic. So we would potentially look at this in some other areas like Beaufort and Kavanaugh and potentially even Luma if necessary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Belazer and then Councillor Verdi.
Yeah, I was going to say to Des, well, even I got all these phone calls too, the same thing. I was quite surprised to find out that there actually has never been any way to enter that system to clean it out and chat with Des. Some of the others do not either. Now, there's definitely a blockage in there because you can't put in bigger pumps and increase pressure and back it into to go past the stop valve and still end up with sewer into your tank. And these residents are now pumping their own tanks where they shouldn't be doing that. But in consultation with Councillor Wanchuk, now, once we get some flush points open, we could possibly even run down a cable. He knows a gentleman that has a business that can, scope the whole system if we had to. It's just another thought that once you have points that you can enter, that possibly could be done too. So I'd be total support of this because there's some really unhappy residents there right now.
Of course. Thank you very much, Councillor Verdi. You go ahead.
Sure. So was Leduc County responsible for this system after original construction through a CCC FAC process, or how are we liable for this? The way it reads, and going into the second question is, it sounds like somebody did some work to it from the reading and then there was some failure that occurred. So is that not like a homeowner insurance problem or something along these lines?
The local, sorry, let me back this up. The Sunnybrook sewer was installed as a local improvement. So it was installed by a municipality with a special tax levied against the residents of Sunnybrook. So it was a county installed system. It wasn't installed as a typical developer, and the county accepts that construction after fact. This was constructed in about 1984, 1986. So it's a fairly old system in its own right. So any kind of warranty period, anything else associated, that would have well expired. So as far as homeowners, the problem that we're running into is the size of pumps that individuals are having to install for their tanks to properly discharge are getting larger and larger and larger. And that just creates a problem because then eventually the pressure gets higher. You could have sewage potentially flowing back into somebody else's tank. So having the correctly sized pumps is absolutely critical as well. So we're actually putting together a project right now where we're going to examine what type of pump needs to be installed, have the proper specifications, proper configuration that you need to check valve, pump, all that sort of thing. So when people install or need to replace the pump, they can install the correct one right off the bat instead of having a little bit of brinkmanship where one person installs a bigger pump, then the next person installs something larger, and then third person installs something larger, and then it creates problems throughout. So
Ms. Meriglot, if this recommendation is passed by council today, what's the timeline for getting this done? And what are our, and a little bit like what Council Verdi was saying, and do we have any liability for not being able to get this done really quickly if it backs up into somebody's basement? Where are we as a municipality?
Well, it's right now, what's been happening is that either we've been assisting in pumping out the tanks or they've been pumping out their own. So we've been in contact with the landowners and trying to maintain those lines of communication to make sure that they are fully aware what their timelines are. We have had 3 quotes provided for this work. So we have contractors lined up, ready to go. It's going to be a matter of first calls and things like that that are outside our control. That's probably really going to be driving the schedule of this. But I would anticipate as long as first calls are not an issue, probably within 3 weeks, we would have this done.
Excellent. Thank you. And it's nice to hear that you've done some forethought, got some people lined up so that we're not then going and looking for that as well. Any further questions? There is a motion on the floor already by Councillor Smith. I am seeing none. We'll call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
You. We'll now ask someone to move us to our in-camera section of our meeting. Councillor Lewis will move us in camera. All in favor? It is unanimous, and we will wait until Farmer's Mirth. I'll just thank you very much. Thank you for joining us back. The only motion we made in camera was a motion to come out of in camera. We have no further motions from the business that we did. And with that, I will adjourn us at